Jaafar Jackson, Michael's nephew and star of the biopic. Michael has spoken warmly about his uncle. From perfecting the king of pop's signature spin to capturing his laugh, Jaafar Jackson shares only admiration for his late uncle. He remembers a loving uncle who taught him to moonwalk, and whose spirit guided him on set. For Jaafar, this role was never an impersonation, it was a way to restore his uncle's humanity. A nephew's devotion, on full display. At a press junket in March 2026, Jaafar Jackson spoke with raw emotion about what the role meant to him personally. He recalled family gatherings at Havenhurst, where Michael Jackson was incredibly patient and encouraging as a mentor. "He was the best uncle I could have dreamed of," Jaafar said, his voice breaking. He described praying every morning before filming, asking Michael's spirit to guide him. "I wanted to give him back his humanity," Jaafar insisted. "People turned him into a headline. I wanted them to see the man who tucked me into bed and told me stories about Motown." His final promise to audiences was simple: "I gave him everything I had." Now, let's take a look at an interesting image that's been circulating. At first glance, it appears to show a man who looks like Jaafar Jackson in tears, while bold text beside him hints at a dramatic family controversy unfolding behind the scenes. The emotional image and sensational headline create a shocking impression, leaving many viewers wondering what really happened. However, the full story remains unclear, and much of the discussion online is based on speculation about a rising actor preparing for one of the biggest roles of his career, portraying his late uncle, Michael Jackson, on the big screen. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. In a February 2026 interview for a magazine feature with Miles Teller, Jaafar Jackson revealed the most difficult challenge of portraying his uncle, the spin. Michael naturally rotated to the left. Jaafar rotates to the right. Breaking that muscle memory took months.
It was incredibly challenging. I can only imagine looking back at those videos now, and it's horrible.
"I wanted to learn the meaning behind the move, the essence of it," Jaafar said, echoing his uncle's philosophy that technique meant nothing without feeling. He described studying Michael's body language obsessively, how he tilted his head when listening, how his fingers curled during ballads. Jaafar called the process exhausting but sacred, saying he often felt his uncle's presence during long rehearsal nights. "I wasn't just learning steps," he explained. "I was learning him." Far from any sensationalized confession, Jaafar's words were those of a devoted nephew honoring an irreplaceable mentor. Speaking further with Miles Teller, Jaafar detailed his painstaking work to inhabit Michael's voice. He studied hundreds of hours of private recordings, phone calls, home videos, and studio outtakes to capture not just the famous soft public tenor, but the private, funnier cadence his family knew. His laugh was the hardest thing to nail. Jaafar admitted it was breathy, high, and would just burst out of him. He worked with a dialect coach daily, focusing on breath control and vocal placement. Jaafar recalled Michael once telling him as a child that the voice carries emotion, not just words, a lesson that became the foundation of his performance. "If I didn't sound like him, none of the rest would matter," Jaafar said. He described the vocal training not as imitation, but as an act of love. It wasn't only Jaafar who shared powerful memories of Michael in interviews over the years. Other family members and celebrities have spoken about him too. In a 2012 interview with Piers Morgan, Catherine Jackson defended her son without hesitation. "Michael was a wonderful father and the most loving son you could imagine," she said.
What is Alama's name? Is he part?
Her voice was steady. She told Morgan that the allegations against Michael were all about money, and that she never once doubted his innocence. Catherine recalled Michael's childhood sensitivity, how he would bring home stray animals and cry at sad movies.
I say it just hurt because I know Michael didn't do those terrible things.
She said he poured that same tenderness into his own children, who adored him. When asked about the trial and the years of scandal, she replied, "A mother knows her child." Michael was not capable of the things they said. Catherine Jackson has always held firm that history would vindicate her son, maintaining an unshakable conviction that never wavered. Rebbe Jackson, the eldest sibling, has always guarded her privacy fiercely. During Michael's 2005 trial, she took the witness stand as a character witness and testified that her brother was a very loving, very caring person. Under oath, she described Michael as a normal, gentle man who treated children with the same kindness he showed everyone. Years later, in a rare 2011 interview with the Mirror, she repeated that stance, adding, "Michael was a great father and a beautiful brother. I never saw anything inappropriate." Rebbe explained that the family learned to ignore the tabloids long ago because they knew the truth. She expressed sadness that the world never met the Michael she knew, the one who made everyone laugh and who valued family above all else. In the 2009 A&E documentary The Jacksons, A Family Dynasty, Jackie Jackson painted a picture of Michael far from the eccentric headlines. He described a younger brother who was the family prankster, constantly hiding behind doors and jumping out to scare his siblings. "Michael had the biggest laugh," Jackie recalled. "He found joy in everything." In a 2010 Access Hollywood interview, Jackie grew more serious, stating, "I know my brother. The accusations were never real." He explained that Michael's love for children was a pure extension of his own stolen childhood, an attempt to give back what he never had. Jackie admitted he sometimes felt guilty that he got to play baseball and ride bikes while Michael worked. That guilt made him fiercely protective of Michael's legacy. Speaking to The Guardian in 2017, Tito Jackson reflected on Michael's raw talent as a child. He studied James Brown and Jackie Wilson so closely he could move exactly like them, but Tito said Michael felt the music differently. He remembered Michael, barely 5 years old, watching their father's band rehearse and mimicking every note. By the time the Jackson 5 formed, Michael was already the undeniable center. Tito told Rolling Stone in 2014 that Michael's voice was a gift from God, and that his work ethic was unmatched.
That's what's so weird, nothing happened, nothing really. We played video games.
When asked about the controversies, Tito simply said, "People didn't understand him. They still don't, but I do." He described Michael as a sensitive soul who found peace only on stage, where nothing could touch him. In the early 1990s, LaToya Jackson publicly made damaging statements against Michael, but she later revealed she was being controlled by her abusive husband and manager, Jack Gordon. After escaping that marriage, she recanted entirely. In a 2011 Access Hollywood interview, LaToya said, "I know my brother is innocent. He would never harm a child. I was brainwashed, and I deeply regret everything I said." She became one of Michael's most vocal posthumous defenders, describing him as a gentle, misunderstood man who gave too much of himself. She later said that Michael's love for children was the purest thing about him, and that she wished she had defended him sooner. LaToya's reversal is a complicated chapter in the Jackson family story, but her eventual loyalty was absolute. At Michael's public memorial in July 2009, Marlon Jackson addressed millions and fought back tears. "Maybe now, Michael, they'll leave you alone," he said, his voice cracking. The words became one of the most quoted moments of the entire service. Marlon, who was born just 17 months before Michael, shared a bed and a childhood with him. In a 2012 Piers Morgan Tonight interview, he recalled their inseparable bond, how they finished each other's sentences and communicated without words. Marlon described Michael as painfully shy, overly trusting, and deeply empathetic. Family lore holds that Michael would apologize to a chair if he bumped into it. "I was there. I knew him," Marlon insisted. The public only saw the sequined glove. They never saw the brother. Randy Jackson, the youngest brother before Janet, stood physically at Michael's side throughout the 2005 trial, often seen escorting him into the courthouse. He rarely grants interviews, but in a 2009 statement to E! News, he said, "Michael was my best friend. He would never hurt anyone." Randy was known within the family as Michael's fiercest protector, the sibling who handled security concerns and managed logistics during crisis moments. After Michael's death, Randy told a gathering of fans that his brother's legacy would outlast the lies. He expressed regret that he could not protect Michael from the doctors who enabled his addiction. Randy remains one of the most private Jacksons. His quiet, consistent presence beside Michael during the darkest days speaks louder than any interview could. Janet Jackson's 2022 Lifetime/A&E documentary offered some of the most candid reflections on her brother. She openly discussed how the media circus surrounding Michael impacted her own career and mental health. Yet her love remained firm. "I always looked up to Michael. He was my inspiration," she said, describing how his creativity shaped her own artistry. Janet recalled childhood moments when Michael would teach her dance routines and make her laugh during grueling rehearsals. She admitted that the tabloid caricature of Michael pained her deeply, because it bore no resemblance to the brother she knew. When asked in a 2020 The Times interview about the allegations, Janet said simply, "I love my brother. I will always love him." Her words were few, but her meaning was clear. In a 2017 Good Morning America interview, Prince Michael Jackson spoke about his father with quiet conviction. "He was the greatest dad ever," Prince said. "He taught me to be humble, to treat everyone equally, and to work hard for what I want." Prince recalled ordinary moments, movie nights, cooking breakfast, his father quizzing him on world history. He dismissed the public fascination with his paternity, saying biology was irrelevant. Michael Jackson raised him, and that was all that mattered. In later interviews, Prince consistently described a childhood filled with love, structure, and his father's constant presence. He said Michael was strict about education, but endlessly playful, turning even homework into a game. Prince has never wavered in his defense of the man he calls Dad. If you've made it this far, please hit like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. Paris Jackson has defended her father passionately across multiple interviews. In a 2017 Rolling Stone profile, she said, "He was the best dad ever. Anyone who says otherwise is lying." She described waking up to the smell of his pancakes, dancing with him in the kitchen, and the way he would braid her hair before school. On Red Table Talk in 2021, Paris grew emotional, recounting how Michael taught her to love music and to treat every person with dignity. She acknowledged that his life was strange and difficult, but insisted that the man who raised her was nothing like the figure portrayed in headlines. Paris has tattoos dedicated to him and speaks of his memory as sacred. "He gave me everything," she said. "I owe him my voice." B.G. Jackson, formerly known as Blanket, is famously private. But in a 2021 interview with Good Morning Britain, he broke his silence briefly and powerfully. "He was a great father," B.G. said softly. "He loved us very much and always wanted the best for us." B.G. recalled how Michael instilled a sense of curiosity and adventure, often taking the children on impromptu museum trips and teaching them about cultures around the world. He said his father emphasized education and kindness above all else. Asked about the public scrutiny, B.G. responded with remarkable poise, saying he had learned to focus on his own memories rather than outside noise. That interview, though brief, offered a glimpse of Michael as a father who was present, attentive, and deeply adored by his youngest child. Austin Brown, the son of Rebbe Jackson and a singer in his own right, spoke warmly of Michael in a 2019 interview. "Uncle Michael was the greatest," Austin said. "He was so loving, so generous. I never saw him do anything wrong to any child." Austin recalled family gatherings where Michael would perform magic tricks for the kids and spend hours teaching them harmony parts. He described his uncle as a mentor who encouraged his own musical ambitions, giving him honest feedback and pushing him to be original. Austin dismissed the allegations as financially motivated, saying it broke his heart to see the world tear down a man who had given so much joy. "He was my family," Austin said, "and I know who he really was." Chris Tucker traveled extensively with Michael Jackson, visiting Neverland and accompanying him on tour appearances. In a 2021 interview on The Real, Tucker said, "Bluntly, I never saw anything inappropriate. Ever." He described Michael as playful and childlike, but entirely proper in his interactions. Tucker testified as a defense witness in the 2005 trial, telling the jury he had never observed any wrongdoing. He later told The View that Michael was like a brother to him, and that the allegations never aligned with the man he knew. Tucker acknowledged that Michael's lifestyle was unusual, but stressed that unusual does not equal criminal. He expressed frustration that his testimony received far less attention than the accusations. "People want a scandal," Tucker said. "But I know what I saw, and what I saw was friendship." Of all the celebrities associated with Michael Jackson, Macaulay Culkin's testimony carries unique weight. He was a frequent Neverland guest and famously stayed in Jackson's bedroom suite. Yet Culkin has repeated the same statement for decades.